Jeez. Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and this is Steve Talks Books and Stuff. For those of you who are new here, I typically read horror, grimdark, fantasy, a little bit of everything, but I've been gravitating towards horror and grimdark a lot more lately. On my weekly updates, I talk about what I've read this week, what I'm going to read, what's going on the channel, any new updates, and some conversational things now and then. And I also want to hear what you're up to, so let me know what you're reading this week, what you're going to read next week. What are your plans? How was your week? Was it a good week, a bad week? Let me know down below. So let's start with what I've been reading this week. And those of you who have watched my November TBR can guess it's been a busy week with reading, but I'm happy to report that I am on track. I know it's early in the month. I know it's early, but it's a small victory. I am on track. My schedule is looking pretty good. And I know some people don't like to have a schedule. They like to mood read. They don't like to have a plan. They just kind of go with it. And that's great. For me, I have to have a plan. That's not only with reading or with my TBR, it's just in life. I'm the kind of person who needs a plan. I have to know when things are going to happen. Like to have things planned out so I can have mile markers and have goals, like short-term goals and long-term goals, and drop my books on the ground. So now that I picked my books up off the ground, let's go ahead and talk about what I read last week. So last week I was reading Sin Eater, and I did finish this book. It is the second book in the Iconoclast series. I am buddy reading this with Epic Tales, the content creator. I will leave his channel down below. He's a fantastic content creator. Overall, just a great person. More importantly, just a wonderful person. So go check out his channel if you haven't already. But this is the second book in this series, and I typically don't like books that there's a lot of buildup, where it's an adventure and there's a lot of buildup. But Mike Shell does a great job with the buildup, because the way the characters talk about the world and what they're going into, that mystery that they're unfolding as they go. The last 50 pages or so of this book, and I mentioned the last 100 pages of Aching God when I read that, the first book in the series, there's a huge, it really speeds up at the end. The end of this book takes some chances that fantasy books usually don't take, especially in the second book. Did not go the way I expected, and it takes chances, not as many chances as a book like Kings of Ash, but it takes some really big chances. I think during the meetup we called it a boss move. It was a boss move to do what Mike Shell did. So loving the series so far. One more book to go, so looking forward to getting into the third one in a few weeks. Right after that, I started Nightfall by Daniel Barnett. We are starting a group read for the Nightmareland Chronicles series, and we started with this book. We are meeting every other Saturday, starting yesterday. So every other Saturday we will discuss the next book in the series. And from what I understand is that the sixth meetup will be before the sixth book is released. So all the people who are coming along the journey with us will get an arc of the final book, which is Lily, to read and to discuss before release date. And Daniel Barnett and I have been planning this for a while, and we weren't sure how things would work out with timing, because there's editing and all that stuff. There's a lot involved in getting a book released, so we weren't sure when it was going to be released. But it's working out to where we'll be reading the book before it's released and having a conversation with Daniel about the book before. So things are really falling into place. It's a huge commitment for Daniel and for all the people involved. So it's wonderful the way this has all worked out. Right after Nightfall, I started Nocturnal Blood by Villemay Mist, and I'm going to have Villemay on the channel on Friday for a Friday conversation. And this is a book I've been wanting to read for a long, long time. The cover, I love the covers, but just hearing her talk about her work makes you excited to read it. And I love vampires. I love the aggressive, violent type of vampire, not so much the sparkly vampires. And there's been a few people, I was reading this during Yolene's reading sprints. I started it, and someone asked, are these sparkly vampires? And it took me about 10 minutes to figure out that no, they are not sparkly. They definitely are not sparkly. So after Nocturnal Blood, I will be reading We Men of Ash and Shadow by Holly Tinsley. This is another book that has been just all over the place. It's a grimdark book, and all the people that I trust, there's certain reviewers you you watch or you listen to, you read, and you just know whenever they like something, you should pay attention to it. You should look into it. You should explore it, maybe pick it up. And all the people who I follow, who I trust on the reviews, and who I say we have similar tastes, they all rave about this book. So this is going to be a great time. And I am chatting with Holly Tinsley next week, so I want to read this before that conversation in just over a week. So last week on the channel, it was a very busy week. It was a very busy Saturday. I plan all this stuff, and then I kind of have it all planned out, and then I look back and say, why do I have like 4 streams in one day? But I'm having fun, so I'm not trying to complain. So on Friday, for the Friday conversation last week, I did have Ruben J. Eckert on. He's the author of An Alliance of Enemies, Dissension. We had a great conversation, about 2.5 hours. We chatted about it, just a ton of topics: fantasy, writing, publishing, motivations. I mean, just really just a broad conversation. And I want to thank all the people who came by and contributed to the chat. It's always great when people in the chat interact with us, because that's what makes live streams fun, is the interaction and the back and forth that we get with the chat. And it's funny because we talked for about 2.5 hours on stream, and then we stopped the stream and we started talking again. And we talked for almost another hour, just chatting about music and movies. And I wish I had kept it rolling, but I tried to not go too long. I try to try and time when the conversation is running out of gas, and that's not a negative thing to say. It's just sometimes the conversation, and we've all been through these situations where sometimes you can talk to someone and it can go on forever, and sometimes it just kind of runs its course and you run out of steam. So I try to catch it before it runs out of steam, and it's tough sometimes to gauge when things are okay. It's time to start. Things are winding down. It's time to wrap up, because I don't want it to get to that awkward silence that you get with conversations. So I was trying to catch it at that right moment, and then we talked for another hour about just a ton more stuff, and we plan to do something again next month. So I want to read his book, An Alliance of Enemies, Dissension. So anyone who wants to read it with me, I'm trying to work something out with Ruben to come on and chat about the book with us, have a spoiler discussion. So anyone who wants to come by and chat with Ruben, let me know, get in contact with me, and we'll try and set something up. Of course, it is all the best place to find me for that kind of stuff is on the forum. So let me know there. I will start a thread and we can get this going. Saturday morning, I had a chat with our friend Saf and Yolene Reeds about our movie of the month, Apostle. We chatted about Apostle for about 40 minutes. We were all kind of mixed on it. I think there were some parts that I really liked. I think overall it was a missed opportunity. I think there were some great parts in it. There was some, I think the bones of it was really good. I just think the execution wasn't all that great. But I appreciate that they took a chance and they tried to do something with it. I wasn't the biggest fan, but there were some parts that I enjoyed. I think I give it a 6 out of 10, and we were all about right there. A couple hours after Apostle, we had a reading sprint with Yolene. She was hosting a reading sprint, so we jumped on there, read with her, and then we jumped off and went to the Nightmareland Chronicles Nightfall discussion with Daniel Barnett, The Reading and Writing Life, Stacy's All Booked, Lady Jane Books. My wife Brandy was there as well, and we had just a wonderful conversation about the book and the series. And we kept the first portion of it spoiler-free, so if you want to check that out, the first 20 minutes or so are spoiler-free, and then we get into spoilers and kind of talk about a bunch of other topics like horror and some other things. But if you haven't read it, I would suggest reading the book first, and then you can listen to it or watch it. About 20 minutes after that wrapped up, we had a discussion on Epic Tales' channel with author Mike Shell for Sin Eater, for our buddy read. And it's always a pleasure talking to those two. They're so creative and insightful and have just so many interesting things to say that I just become a sponge around them and try and soak up all that creative awesomeness that they both have. It's just always a pleasure chatting with them about books or just anything. They're the kind of people you can chat with about whatever and never get bored. So that was another great one. It is spoiler filled, and there are spoilers for Sin Eater. So read the book first. If you haven't read the book, read it before you watch that video, because we get into heavy spoilers. Then this morning, after I figured out that I converted my time wrong, UK time to Mountain Time, which is where I am, because I didn't account for the for the daylight savings time change, I was a little late to the meetup with author Simon Paul Wilson. He was thankfully understanding and very gracious and very kind to deal with me because I was about 15 minutes late. Thankfully, I'd woken up early and I was just kind of here goofing off, and it worked out okay. But I want to thank him again for being patient. But I had a really fun and insightful and just enlightening conversation with him. We talked about a bunch of different subjects like horror, conveying trauma through text, publishing, writing, the industry, advice. We talked about Simon's first job, and that went on for about an hour or so. We wanted to keep it about an hour long, so we wrapped up right under an hour. So keep your eyes peeled for that. That should be out tomorrow, which is Monday morning at around 9 o'clock Eastern. So Monday, I will be chatting with author Elliot Parker. That is happening tomorrow. It won't be a live stream. It'll be a pre-recorded video, so that'll probably be out Tuesday morning. Then on Wednesday, I'll be chatting with author Brandon Applegate. He has a book coming out soon that's available for pre-order, so I'm looking forward to chatting with him. So just a ton of things scheduled, and looking forward to it. Then on Friday, for the Friday conversation at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be chatting with author Villamy Mist about horror writing. She is just a fantastic guest. It's always a pleasure chatting with her, so I'm looking forward to that. And I am working on something for that evening, so I'm trying to kind of decide what to do with that evening slot because I didn't have something at my usual time last Friday after the Ruben J. Eckert conversation, and I kind of feel like I should keep it going. I should keep doing it at the same time every week to be consistent. Let me know down below what you think about that. Is that important for me to do the same time every week? Because I feel like it should, but I'm curious what you all think. Then next Friday night, we're having a Beguiled by Night kickoff party. We're calling it a kickoff extravaganza. We're going to go do some reading sprints for Beguiled by Night, which is our group read for the month. And we're going to get on and we do games and reading sprints for the book. And the author, Nicole Eigert, is coming to join us for the readings for the kickoff. We usually do like a midnight event or like midnight reading sprints, like a 24-hour readathon kind of thing. And she's actually coming to, the author's actually coming to hang out with us and play games. And we don't get a whole lot of reading done usually. We usually end up chatting and just goofing off, or having fun, silly games. But it's always a great time. So if you are reading that with us or just want to do reading sprints with us, that'll be on Stacy's channel on Friday night. It actually ends up being 1 a.m. Saturday morning Eastern time. So for me, it's 11 p.m. Mountain, but for someone else it may run into Saturday. So just a heads up. Then next Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern time, we are having our Kings of Ash discussion with author Richard Nell. That is on Yulene Rees' channel. Where our group is we're meeting with Richard to talk about the series. I love this series. I always have a great time chatting with Richard. He's one of those people you can chat with forever, and I've been trying to leave him alone because I felt like I was bothering him a little bit. So I was giving him a break, but I love that series. I'm going to continue to be a champion for that series. It's my favorite series to read. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, and my pugs are fighting outside the door. But it is fantastic, and I love that series. I think it's great, and it's really wonderful that I can chat with Richard Nell and share it with so many people that I know, and they've all really enjoyed it. So that's such a great feeling to know that something I recommended is something that they're really enjoying, and the fact that I can talk to the author, it's crazy, it's nuts. And I say this all the time, but I'm so grateful for the chances I've had to chat with so many great, wonderful people. So I'm on track for my TBR. So far, it's working out really well, and I'm hoping nothing comes up to derail me. So I'm hoping things continue. It's early, but I'm hopeful. And I also want to mention that for the podcast, all the discussions I have on the channel, I upload to a site called Buzzsprout. It's a podcasting hosting platform. From there, you can click on the different platforms. So it's like a hub where you can click on the platform that you prefer. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. I'm on Google Play or Google Podcasts. I'm now on Amazon Music. I'm on all those different platforms, and I had been putting off getting on Spotify because I thought it'd be a pain in the ass, because Apple Podcasts is kind of a pain in the ass. So I was putting it off. I was being lazy, and I thought, okay, I should probably get this done. And it turned out to be a mouse click and like 5 minutes of waiting for it to be listed, and it was done. So I'm on Spotify. Anyone who uses Spotify and wants to listen, it's all there. I will leave a link down below. You click on that link and it'll take you to Buzzsprout, and you can click on your platform of choice. One more, I want to mention again that we are organizing a Secret Santa program on our forums. So we are getting together and we're swapping email addresses. Yulene from Yulene Reads is organizing this. So we're signing up, sending our email addresses to her, and then we're going to organize a Secret Santa type of thing where we send each other books. It's international, so anyone's welcome to join it. It's all around the world, and our deadline is December 1st. So we do that because of shipping times and everything else for international shipping. So December 1st is our cutoff, and then we plan to have a meetup where we open gifts with each other, kind of like a Christmas morning, Christmas Eve kind of thing, where we open it and we just have a good time spreading that Christmas cheer. If you're into that sort of thing, or holiday cheer, or whichever way you celebrate it, it's just an excuse for us to do nice things for each other and to spread joy and just to be thankful for friendship and for being in each other's lives. Now, before I wrap up, I wanted to talk a little bit about reviews, because I've come to a realization in the last couple of weeks, and really it was House of Leaves, because it had been on my mind, but House of Leaves was the one thing that really pushed me over, is that before, when I would finish a book, I would go to Goodreads and give it a star rating. Sometimes after a little bit, you kind of digest what you've read, and the score may change. It may go up, it may go down, but as you get some distance from it, the score may change. So what I'm doing now is, after I finish a book on Goodreads, I'm giving it some time. I'm going to not give it a score right away. I'm just going to say I'm finished, move on to the next one. I want to give it a little bit of time before I assign a score rating to it. So I just want to get some distance from it, able to digest it. I may write down my initial score, I have it in my mind, but I'm going to give it some time and see how it kind of marinates and what I feel about it days or maybe even weeks later. So is that something all of you do, or do you go with your immediate reaction when you finish a book? I'm really curious about this, because I think the way people review books is really interesting to me, and I think it's fascinating how we all have different methods and different techniques and thoughts on it, and some of us don't even like star ratings. So let me know down below where your thoughts on ratings are in general, and also, do you give a rating to a book you finish right away, or do you wait on it? If you would like to connect directly with me, as I mentioned, I am on the forum. I'm also on Vero. Vero is my personal catch-all social media account. I post what I'm listening to, what I'm watching, what I'm reading, my dogs, just random stuff that I'm doing. So I post pretty much everything there. And I do have a Twitter account where I post 99% book-related stuff. So I try and keep Twitter mostly book-related, but on Vero I post whatever it is I'm doing, and I post memes and a bunch of other goofy things there too. So yeah, it's just a fun time. Thanks again for all the support and for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Hope you all have a good one. I will talk to you soon.